allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everyone. It is Tuesday, April 13th, 2021. You are at the Mitchell County Courthouse. This is the Mitchell County Board of Supervisors meeting. And today in front of us we have an agenda. Any additions or changes? Hearing none, do we have any motions to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Jim has made a motion.
I'll second.
Mike has seconded. Rachel?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays?
The agenda has been approved. I will move down to approve the minutes of the April 6th and 7th meeting and claims. And again, is there any additions or corrections to that? Hearing none, do we have any motions to approve the minutes and the claims?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes and claims.
Mark has made a motion.
I'll second.
Todd has second.
Roll call. Mike?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Todd?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Moving on. After the approval of the minutes, of April 6th and 7th and the claims, County Attorney, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Would you have anything that you would like to discuss with us?
Just for the meeting tonight, I think most of you are going to attend. What I would simply do is I'll talk to Jim ahead of time and just say right before they start their meeting, you can, just commence your meeting. So there's no argument that there wasn't a disclosure. And then, they just have your meeting and you guys can ask questions or do whatever you want. But Rachel keeps notes and then we're okay.
All right, as soon as we're done with our official end of that meeting, then we can roll out those of us that want to. You don't have to attend.
What was that?
For those of us that don't want to attend the rest of their meeting, we can roll out after our meeting is done.
Yeah, I assumed your meeting was just to listen to their meeting and what they were talking about.
Okay. Sounds good.
That's all I have.
Okay, I guess we have underneath here the approval of publication for noxious weeds, and that would be under you. Do you have any information on that, Mark, that you might want to say?
Once a year, Iowa code requires that you publish notice in the papers, which would be the Osage paper, the Sinasker paper. And Rachel has the notice that goes in the paper. It basically informs people that they don't destroy noxious weeds, that the county can go in and destroy them and charge the cost to them. But the notice that goes into the paper is the actual notice to all the landowners in the county that we've got the right to go on your property. And so we don't have to mail them additional notice if we don't want to. Now, as a practical matter, we always notify them by regular mail and certified mail that they've got so many days in which to, deal with it, what type of weed it is, things like that. We normally get a handful of complaints a year, and I would say it's been years since we've actually had to go in and do something, but we have had to go in and do something at times. Usually, the weed commissioner, I know, he's real good at going in and visiting with people and helping them take care of the problem. So we haven't really had any problems over the last few years.
thank you, Mark. We have that in front of us, the publication for noxious weeds. This is what's gonna be completely published in the paper, right, Rachel?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not gonna read it because I don't feel that long-winded, but we have it here, Mark. Thank you. Does anybody have anything for Mark? I guess that's it, Mark. Thank you.
Okay, and I'll just tell you, as of a practical matter, and I don't know why I'm getting a lot of feedback today. Mr. Kephardt's hearing this Friday. Greg flew the drone over again. Sheriff Bieber flew the drone over. There's been no change. So what's going to happen is the judge is going to tell him to pay the fine. I'm going to request the judge that he set the other matters for hearing, and then I'm going to be requesting jail time on those. So he'll get an attorney appointed at public expense, and then we'll go forward with the next ones.
Okay.
So if anybody wants to attend, it's 9:30 on Friday.
Okay, thank you, Mark.
Yep.
I don't see too many hands go up for that, so.
If I had my rathers, I'd not be there either, but, you know, it's something that has to be done.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Moving on, sheriff update.
We need to have a motion
Oh.
for that.
I'll move to
Publication.
make the motion
Yes.
on the noxious weeds be published.
Todd's made a motion.
I'll second that.
Mike has seconded.
Roll call, Jim,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Todd.
Aye.
Okay. That has been approved for the publication for noxious weeds. Moving on, sheriff's update.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Mark kind of covered it, but as you can see, we had another complaint on the Kephart property. So these photos were taken on April 9th. We took the complaint on the 7th, and we flew the property on the 9th. So obviously, like Mark said, I think we know the outcome of Friday's hearing already. And then it's, if we get some jail time, fine. Unfortunately, probably not going to change his behavior. So if you have any questions on the photos, I'll certainly answer them. Really, it's not so important on who complained, simply from the fact that we got another complaint, and the property is maybe even in some cases worse than it was when we first started. So, other than that, I don't have anything for you. I'll be out of town Friday. Greg Hallback will be around, and I'll be out south if you need something. I'll be at a funeral, so I won't be around Friday. So anyway, if you have any questions about that property or anything at all, I'll be happy to answer them for you.
I do apologize. I've been back out there multiple times and he's just basically moving things around the property. I thought the truckload and the trailer there, I thought he was starting and he just moving a little bit and
Yeah.
open that corner up a little bit, but that semi-trailer is just a bad situation. Something happened bad there.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's his lifestyle. So how do you change that?
I see the building roof has fell in completely now and opened up. So theoretically now that is beginning to be part of the junk. As long as it was somewhat intact with all the garbage holding it up, it was a building, but now it's fell in. So it's becoming a problem for us too now.
There's an eyesore from that cemetery too.
And in the neighbor, and I'm sure there's a bunch of varmints that live in that.
That is a large concern, is the rodents and wildlife that crawl in and out of there. And it's a concern for people and their grandchildren and kids. But our hands are tied. We're doing what we can do, and that's that. And we have to go by the book, because if we flinch and go a different direction, that lengthens it out. So.
Yeah, Mark knows the process, and so that's what we need to follow. Yeah. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. Moving on, county engineer update, Rich.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Guys are out bleeding and we're out digging, spot rocking too, so that's just kind of where we're at. The things, if you've got any questions on that, otherwise we can move right into the DOT program and budget if you'd like. Okay, so I sent you guys an email here, Monday on, we talked last week about projects that we were talking about removing from the program. So before I remove them from the program, you guys need to decide whether you want to keep them or not. I gave you that list in an email. Gave you the TPMS numbers, but I can also explain to you which ones they are too. Hickory Avenue north of Totterville, 390th from Balsam to Cameo, Red Ball from St. Anne Street 410th, Jersey from Mitchell Line Street to Lime Kiln, Mitchell Line Street from Balsam to Jersey, and then Quail Avenue from 430th to 465th. After discussion with the DOT on whether or not we needed to do anything official, they said if you don't plan on paving them, then we probably shouldn't need to keep them in the program and keep kicking the can down the road. It's up to you guys whether you want to keep them in there or not. It's estimated at $18 million worth of local funds, so I don't believe we have that many local funds. I mean, other than if you start using TIF money, and that one's completely up to you guys, but just as an idea of where you want to be. So what you have in front of you is you have the map from last week. There's one little project I added, which is Orchard south of Highway 9. That's got some issues on center line for about a half a mile. We need to try to put in a program. I thought we'd try to fix that when we do the truck detour around Osage. And we do a crack and seat there. I don't know if we'll do the whole length of Orchard Road. Most of it's in good shape, but there is some bad stuff for about a half a mile north of the curves. So that's the only thing that I changed from last week in the program and budget. Unfortunately, I printed the official budget so you guys could sign for it, so that the chair could sign it. And when I did that, it won't let me back into the program, so I've contacted the Service Bureau so that they can unlock it, so I can put it back in, so I can if you guys so desire to remove those projects, I can take them projects out, give you a new program and a new map so you can see what's actually kind of on the system there. So the budget that you have in front of you is only for next fiscal year, obviously. And just to keep in mind, the thing that I look at the most, not only about what we're spending, but what we have at the end of the year, what's projected to be at the end of the year. And $72,000 is projected to be the county auditor's ending balance, which is, in my budget, essentially zero, which is pretty scary if something were to happen. Now, we aren't done with fiscal 21 yet, so we might see some savings carry over. And depending on how we get projects out the door when they get paid, that might change carryover balances from 21 to 22. It's a moving, shifting, living document, so, but I hate seeing that low number, but this is where we're at with what we think we want to get done for the next fiscal year. So, and with estimated dollars and cents. So things will change, it always does, so. But it's not zero and it's not negative, so. That's the official budget for fiscal 22. I'm not sure that it changed anything from the county budget that was submitted before. I don't recall that it did. So if you want, you can approve the budget, and then you can approve the program pending the changes. If you want to make those changes, you guys will have to agree to that, and then I can get you something official to sign after I get back to the office and change that stuff.
Okay, is there,
You can have a discussion on that if you want.
yeah, what's the comment?
I would like to take them off. I don't know what they've done in the past with it, if it's, as long as it's a legal thing or if it's our decision, we could at least get the list down as we look at it in the future. It's,
All those roads are gravel roads,
yeah,
and out of the 6, 3 of them are farm to market, but we know where the farm to market fund sits, and everything else would have to be paid for locally. So. Okay.
I
that's
feel
just,
also we should take them out, we should take care of what we got first. We're adding more in,
Yeah, we're trying to
So
take
what's
care of the
needed?
existing system.
Yeah. That's my feeling.
They're being maintained quite well as gravel roads. I mean,
So what I'll do then is I will, if you guys want to approve the program that you have from last week has one change in it for fiscal 23, so it's not an immediate change, which that could change next year anyway. So if you guys want to approve the program pending those changes in the program that I can make, get you the document to sign for the chair, we can go ahead and continue on with the program and budget approval.
Okay, Mark, what was your thoughts on that?
I'd pull them off too, because worst comes to worst, you can add them later.
Exactly, if we've got something that makes sense.
Yes, if we become independently wealthy somehow,
Find a bag of money.
yeah.
I think we can start over, start with a new map.
Yeah.
But then on the other hand, if they throw a bunch of money at for paving or, you know, who knows what the government's gonna do, and if they're shovel-ready projects, but I'd rather not pave those and put it on something else.
We've got plenty of need in the
Yeah.
next 5 years before we need to do anything else. Because we can kind of put this on hold. If you look at your farm to market sheet that I gave you, that Excel spreadsheet, it tells you the need for the next 5 years, and it's pushing $6 million of local funding. We need to supplement to the farm to market fund just to do the projects we have programmed. So not only were those $18 million worth of projects for local funds, we had another 6 on top of it that we have planned on existing hard surface roads. So, I hate to sit here and tell you how bad it is, but you guys all know how bad it is.
Yeah.
And we're trying to find more effective ways. That's like I told the Worth County Board, I guess, worst comes to worst, we can start putting seal coat down to try to save some of these roads, but that's a 5-year fix. If it's
It
even
is a 5-year fix.
So,
So, do we have any motions to the effect of removing the said roads and adding the half a mile by Orchard?
yeah.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Okay, Mark made a motion, Todd has seconded.
Roll call, Steve,
Aye?
Don,
Aye.
Mark,
All right,
Jim,
Aye.
Mike.
Aye.
Thank you.
So this was a unanimous decision,
So you can sign the budget part already. And
Okay.
then I will get you, when I get back to the office, I'll see if they've unlocked my program so I can make those changes. And then by next week, I'll have a new map for you guys to look at, as well as a new program. I'll have an official program for him to
So
sign.
you want me to sign here as
Just
the
sign where it says
chairperson
chair, yep.
and the auditor up above?
Yep. And I'll
Okay.
sign it too.
I guess we made that motion and everything, and I'm fine with that, but I do have a question. In the next 5 years, all of a sudden, you start getting heat, and I'm not sure whose district what is that we took off. You could come back to a meeting in 2 years and say, hey, we're getting a lot of heat on this or whatever. Can we put this one back on? And, I mean, that's.
It can be added any time.
It can be, but remember, we gotta fund it.
Correct.
Whether we get heat or not, we gotta have the funding, and you guys gotta agree that if we're gonna do the project, we have to have the funding to do it.
But, you know, I kind of maybe am thinking if we have a disaster type thing or whatever, that all of a sudden that road becomes very important, it needs something done, we can come right back and address that.
Well, we go through a paving point system with the DOT, so they evaluate, if you wanna pave a gravel road, they're gonna look at traffic count, whether it connects farm to market, roads together, whether it dead ends in the city, whether it dead ends on a gravel road again, and there's all kinds of points. And I think the golden number is if you can get 50 paving points, you don't have to have a public hearing to put them in the program. But most often, a lot of these roads go way under 50. In fact, some of them are like 8.
Yeah.
But there was a public hearing, and the board then decided to put them in. Whether you put them in or not is insequential to whether we got the money to do it. So they were in the program, but I honestly don't see, unless we use the TIF, I don't see where we have money in local funds to do it. And it's up to you guys whether we use TIF to do that stuff, and whether you think that it's beneficial to have those roads paved. So.
Okay, moving on. Discussion and action on 10-hour days. Rich, did you want to add to that?
Well, I kind of sent you guys an alternative proposal. I know that when I talked to the union stewards, you know, the indication last week was no to 10-hour days. They were also open to options. I was hoping to get some options to present to you. I created my own option there, if you guys have had a chance to look at it. But basically, the options that I came up with were, if we're gonna go 10-hour days, then I would like to have at least some crew available Monday and some crew available Friday. The quarry's open at 7. Right now, it's dark at 6 in the morning. I would propose that we start later in the morning, work later in the afternoon. And then probably just work between it. And this is a thing that's always kind of been something for me was, and I put it in the email about, we should probably be available 5 days a week while we have children in school for any sort of roadway maintenance or whatever. We can't always tell what Mother Nature's gonna do, but if we're available, at least during the school, we don't have the buses out there, you know, it's just something that I've always thought was kind of more important on the timing. And May, to me, is still a good month for getting decent rains to keep the gravel roads in shape. And we start getting into June, July, we tend to see drier weather where the roads get a little bit harder. They're kind of set in ways where we can shape them up before we get to that dry weather. We're in better shape. We're out of planting season usually by May anyway, but sometimes we're not, depending on what Mother Nature deals us. So it's nice to kind of stay in that, to stay in our normal mode for the month of May, in my opinion. That's my opinion. You guys can have different opinions about it, and so can they, but we're here to serve the public and keep our roads in good shape. And I know it's been said 40 hours a week is 40 hours a week, but I feel there's missed opportunities. If we don't have somebody here on Friday, if we get rain or any, you know, whether or not, and like I said before, we don't know when it's gonna rain, so it's kind of hard to tell Mother Nature what to do, but we have to react, and we have to be able to react. If it rains on a day they aren't gonna wanna go home and come back on a Friday to work if that's the case, you know, to shuffle hours around like that. So I guess, in my opinion, I'm willing to support 10-hour days, but I would like to make some changes to it so that I think that we feel we're still serving the public a full week and being able to respond, I guess. You guys have had a week to think about it. I don't know if you guys have any options or alternatives, but.
I got two good topics. One is that you're right, we're here to serve the public, and whether we're here 5 days, going 4 days, I don't think we can serve them to our best of ability, doing the 4 days.
Doing 4 days.
And then how are you gonna pick who's gonna go Monday through Thursday, and you're not gonna do that.
Yep.
The second idea was, I heard that, well, we gotta go keep the troops happy, build morale. About 3 weeks ago, there was, you were moving the signs from Osage to St. Ansgar. And they had the St. Ansgar guys come up and move the signs. They came down, there was 4 Osage gentlemen standing there in shocking. They went and moved the signs, went to St. Ansgar, came back. They're standing in the same spot over an hour. And you run the numbers like everybody likes to, for that hour, it's $105 an hour, just in wages, that's not benefits. And so how does that do for morale? Because you go up those signs, you gotta go up 3 flights of stairs. And those guys are standing there watching those 3 work.
Yep. And I wasn't in the shop, so I don't know what was going on there.
And this goes on day after day after day.
I know there's times I'm out there, and I guess I'm not seeing when, you know, if you guys are stopping in. I don't see that every day. When I'm out there, I usually see guys that are working. Once in a while, you'll see somebody asking another guy a question about what they're working on. I'm not seeing that all the time, but sometimes it's hard to walk into a situation and know what's happening. Now, I'm not saying that what you see is wrong by any means, because it probably happens, and it happens everywhere, but you're right. If that's a concern for you and we want to be efficient, then when you stop in, you should be able to see that and think, well, if we're not efficient, then how are we going to be efficient nowadays?
Because we're here to serve the public, even if it's the sheriff, the home health care, we're here for the public. That's the only thing we gotta do is have a service to those people. And I remember, 8 years ago, I remember, you came over and asked me, well, how's it going? I said, well, perfect. He said, no, really, how's it going? And I said, you really wanna know? And it was the same thing. Same people standing around doing nothing. And you asked, what do you think we ought to do? I told you how to fix it. You could fix it the next day, and he said, you can't do that.
I don't remember the conversation, I guess, but there are things that probably should change if we're seeing that more frequently now. And if guys aren't, like I said, it's hard to walk in and get a snapshot of what's happening just from walking in there, but your point is well taken.
What other counties do? Do they go to a 10-hour during the summer?
Some do, some don't.
Some do, some don't. Worth County does.
We've been back and forth right now. We haven't made that decision yet. I'm trying to remember if we did last year or not. I know that, I think we might have last year, but we did change it during the holiday period where we went to 8-hour days on the holiday weeks because there was some issues with people saying, well, these guys get paid for 10-hour days on holidays and everybody else is getting 8-hour days. And then when a holiday falls, let's say last year holiday, the 4th of July fell on a Friday, so then they're not scheduled to work. Now they get another day to take the holiday off, so now you're busy 3 days. You know, it's just, it doesn't happen often that way, but it does happen. So.
And I read through your email, and it seems to make sense.
There's a lot of things, and it's not a perfect solution either, because now you got to look at the foreman and see how do we schedule a foreman if we're gonna have guys 5 days a week, how do we schedule the foreman to be there 5 days a week without, it's, I guess what I'm trying to be is a little bit more efficient with the hours, the overtime calls, and how to be available, because I know there's times we get calls on Fridays, hey, there's a spot here, or even during the rock run, we pay a guy overtime to manage the rock run in that area, for that day, and, the quarries want to be efficient too, they want to be running rock, and things like that, so.
You have like an assistant foreman that could.
We have one person that has been pretty handy as far as when the foreman's gone, they'll gladly take the phone. Some people don't want it, so sometimes it's hard to even find somebody that want to manage that way. But we always seem to find someone.
I guess,
I just wonder, how about your assistant? Does he do?
We're in a big training mode here.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He's been training. I mean, he's got a lot to learn right now as far as the office stuff, and then when we get projects, he's going to be a busy kid this summer.
And I did see also that when you go to a 4-day week, you're saying 2 15-minute breaks per person, so, I mean, that's kind of a piece too, the half hour a week times.
Yeah, there's pluses and minuses to both.
Did you?
Yeah.
I mean, so it looked like you had thought it through pretty good.
Well, I tried to. No plan is perfect.
Right, but I mean, it looked like a doable plan, but that's my opinion.
I guess my thinking is if we work 5 8s, 365 days a year, we don't have a problem. I mean, there isn't any issues. They're there when bulk is open, and you can start a little later, but then that means they work a little later. So, again, there's trade-offs there. If you start later than 6, that means you'll work later than 5, right? It'd be 5.
I think if you started at 7, it'd be 5:30. If you started at 6:30, it'd be 5.
Yeah.
6:30.
So,
I've reached out to a lot of them. I just, because the guys have, worked there, and so I'm pretty, it's pretty great to me. So I reached out to quite a few. And I had 100% say they want to stay 10 hours. I didn't have anybody say they would quit if they didn't. They're willing to work with what we all decided. If we wanted to try the 4 on Monday through Thursday, Tuesday through Friday. The thing I look at, and I could be all wrong, this is like 10-year thing, I think, that's been going on, 8 to 10 years that it's been 10 hours. And, you know, I haven't heard a lot of grumbling in the past years, other than talking with the previous county workers. And one thing I did kind of notice, I wrote down that with 3 different shops, somebody has to make the move to get everybody going, as in the foreman.
Mhm.
So I don't know, why can't we, and again, things change. My suggestion was, why can't, I mean, the foreman, I think, on Tuesday, I don't care if it takes all afternoon for him, but why can't he get everybody notified what's going on Wednesday morning? And they come in, they punch in, they go to their equipment, they get rolling. I did have a lot of them say, yeah, and I totally understand, I think everybody does. One story gets leading into the next, and it starts snowballing, in 10 minutes goes to 20 into 45.
Yep.
I maybe overstepped my boundaries a little bit, but I said that's gotta stop.
Yep, I've got an idea for that one.
And we need to, I think if we have our duties for the next day already in plan the night before, that gets everybody to work, gets them punched in, and gets them rolling.
Yep.
And I would rather see, I don't want them to take advantage of it, I'd rather see them all come in 10, 15 minutes at the end of the day, maybe a little early. How did you push your snow? I'm having trouble doing this. The rock is that, and, punch out at the time they're supposed to. And if they continue visiting, at least they're off the clock and
Right.
take it outside if they need to shut the shop up. I find it strange that after 8, 10 years, it's coming to us and just going like it's a horrible thing.
Well-
I don't think it is if we could all agree on what we should do.
In the 10-hour, I don't want to interrupt, but the 10-hour days were mostly started when we were hauling our own rock, because then they could get more done in the day, I think is when it first started. I don't know, Jim, it was started before I even came here, I think, for 10-hour days, but it was when we used to haul our own rock, and so they could get more done in it, they felt they could get more done in the day hauling rock to our roads, but we've since hired a lot of that out, because I think it's probably more efficient, we don't have to worry about coordinating, getting trucks and everything else, we've got our own stuff to do, so, yeah, so there is a little different.
And I don't want to go and sit in here and take all the time, but the travel time for graders was one thing, 10 hours, they felt they could do more. Culvert repair, sometimes they could, in a 10-hour day, they could have a road shut down one day less.
Yep, there's advantages to it.
And so I'd like to see 5 days covered, but I'd like to see our workers' morales up and say, if we could try that maybe for, maybe we have to go by seniority. First, I would probably step up and say, who wants to work Monday through Thursday, Tuesday through Friday?
Right.
And then maybe throw in if seniority thing where, well, this is the way it's gonna be for, to fill in the gaps. I don't know. I know it's probably not gonna please everybody, but
Yeah, you're not.
I wanna please our public, like you say. We're number one, but also there's quite a few workers I wanna try and keep them happy too, so.
Then that holiday week, if you went to the 8 hours like
Yeah.
you suggested, then nobody's getting cheated,
Well, and it's just kind of an easy way for accounting
I
to take care of that too.
one.
So I appreciate your email that you sent, that was really good and informative. So before I get going here, what are your expectations no matter what we start for the week, when the guys get out the gate and when they come at the end of the day?
I think they need time in the morning to check over their trucks, and at the end of the day, whether they need to fuel up or whatever, I think we need a 15-minute cushion, 20-minute cushion, morning and afternoon, depending on how they get in and out. You know, I think there's still time that, you know, they need to check stuff over, and depending on, you know, if they find something they need to work on it, I know that it doesn't always help if, you know, if you're coming in at the end of the day and you got a line of, it doesn't, I don't know that it happens that often where, you know, in most stations we've got 2 fuel tanks, so we've got two diesel filling stations, so I wouldn't think that it would be that, I don't know how long it takes them to fill up at the end of the day or in the morning, but there should be some sort of a leeway to get, you know, to get the equipment checked over before they leave and maybe come back, and if they need to fix something, they need a little bit of time to tweak something or whatever. I mean, if it's something more major, yeah, it's gonna take a little bit longer, but then there's always the possibility they can take a different vehicle out. We've got plenty of different trucks, plenty of different corn graders to take if something more major needs to be worked on.
So I understand you need to fuel, and you need to put out blades, and you have a flat tire or something's wrong with the machine. Totally get that. What you're saying is 15 to 20 minutes.
I think that should be, I don't know if that's too much in your opinion or not, but
Well,
checking fluids, making sure everything's full.
It's not, but I want to hear what you have to say, because what you say is what I'm going to expect them to do.
Mhm.
So is that what you're saying, 15
Yeah.
to 20 minutes?
Yep.
That's what I'm expecting then.
Good.
And so if they're standing around that bench like it happens, the foreman needs to say, get moving, okay?
Yep.
It's a problem and it needs to be solved.
Good.
So that is a big problem. As far as the 10-hour days, I don't, frankly, I got to thinking about this, and personally, all I want is 2 things. I want excellent roads, and I want the taxpayers' money to be spent wisely. And I don't care if those guys work 5 8s, 4 10s, or 3 12s with 4 hours again on Thursday morning. Makes no difference to me. This is kind of turned around backwards, where management usually wants to push a longer day because it's more productivity. But the problems that I brought up last week, it's just the opposite. There's problems, so it's not productivity. So I'm just going to put the problem on you. I want excellent roads, and I want taxpayers' money to be spent wisely. And if you can come up with a plan, I don't care what you work these guys. It's that simple to me.
Well, and I'm trying to work with them on the 10-hour day thing, if we can make it work, and they're in any sort of compromise, neither party is always the happiest. That's when the best compromise is we don't all get what we want. So if there's a way to make it work with, I just feel, I don't wanna miss opportunities like I said in there, if it rains, I wanna be available to use that moisture in the roads to make the roads better, so.
And you as a boss are gonna have to amend this and make that happen. I mean, this might be a changeable thing as the year goes on.
Yep.
And it's.
And whether or not we try certain things for 1 month and certain things for another month, I wanna make sure we can make it, cause we're gonna see, if we change it, we're gonna see things that we're gonna probably wanna tweak, if we go that route.
So this isn't a mean statement, but this is your problem.
Yep.
And if it's not working, you're the one that we're gonna be talking to.
Yep.
So that's where I'm at.
Yep. Understood.
And to piggyback that a little bit, my final comment's gonna be, what you decide, I'll back you. Let's readdress it in 2 months, see how it's working, and if it's not, we're gonna have to change it, but we can't continuously, you know what I mean,
Yep.
address it. Let's just make the call, let's try and keep, number one, our public schools, everybody happy, but on the same token, your workers happy.
Yep.
And let's readdress it in a few months, and if it's not working, because I don't really think we should make the call.
Well, according to the union agreement, you guys get to make the final decision on whether or not because they vote on the 10-hour days, and then it's up to the board to determine whether or not they accept that or not. What I'm offering is a compromise to see between people that don't want it and the people that do want it, a compromise to see if we can make it where I feel it's a little bit more efficient.
Because I just don't, I hate to see 5 guys making a decision that's gonna make a lot of people upset, your workers upset, you know, but if it comes to it, that's our job, you know, so.
Bottom line is excellent roads.
You know,
That they're there for the excellent roads. I expect excellent roads, and the taxpayers' money needs to be spent wisely, so you figure it out, and I'm good with that.
Fair enough.
Well, I guess I wanna know some direction on where you guys wanna go with it. Do you wanna do the 4/10s and start Memorial Day to, or Labor Day to, Memorial Day to Labor Day, or do you wanna start in May? I mean, I think,
What's gonna?
my theory is let's do the Memorial Day, the Labor Day window. That way we're still operating during most of the harvest all days, and then while school's still in session. That's kinda where I feel.
Okay, you're telling me that you think that you can do excellent roads, just what you said. Okay. For me, that's what I'm saying.
But I still wanna try to get people available
Well, 5 days.
5 days.
So you're gonna split the shift then?
We'll have to figure that out, and if we can't get it to split, then maybe we go back and say, look, if we can't get some commitment out of the guys to split the shift, then we won't do it.
Okay. Yeah. Like reading through your plan, it sounded like a good plan.
It's not perfect,
No, no.
it's just a suggestion.
Yeah.
Five, or you're okay with having
So, but this is your guys',
But we do have to vote on
you guys have your decision.
So how do you, who wants to make the motion to how you wanna say this?
it. What do you wanna do, Rich? Do you wanna, guess, how are you gonna,
You're gonna have some work Monday through Thursday and some work Tuesday through Friday, right?
or you wanna table this until you come up with a plan next week, what you're gonna actually do?
If you wanna table it one more week, then gives me a chance to discuss with the guys on the union stewards on whether they wanna accept any sort of alternative. I mean, I still wanna work with the guys, but
I'm not anti-guy, I'm just, you know, you're the boss and you figure it out, so.
I wanna work with them. But
Trouble is, there's only 6 of them out there making the decision for the whole road crew.
that's the other stronghold with the union.
Because the only people that can vote on it is the union people. There's only 6 of them in the union out there.
How many employees do you have?
What do we have? 18 or something like that.
So the Statesville, St. Ansgar, shops are not no union on those?
They're in,
They're scattered. Each person, when they get hired, has the option to sign up to be in the union or not be in the union when they get hired.
But the only people that can vote on this are the 5 union people. It's like buying a truck. They tell you it's a good truck, they don't tell you the transmission's about ready to fall out. They tell you everything. Correct?
Most of the times what happens, yes, there are, for the union to work the way that it's written, if you're in the union, you get a voting say. I don't know if these guys, if the union talks to everybody and makes a decision that way or not. The way it's happened in the past is the 6 people or whoever's in the union, they get together and vote on it, and that's what it is. I think that in the past, there are some people that haven't liked the 10-hour days, but they weren't part of the union, and they had to live with it. Because that's what the union voted for, and if they wanted to help make the decisions, then they had to join the union, put their dues in and whatever else if they wanted to make decisions like that. But that group makes decisions for the whole group, and the people that aren't in the union have to accept it.
And years ago, it went back and forth to 10 hours to 8 hours. They voted every year, some years it went, some years it.
And that's the one thing that's gotta be understood here, is it's not guaranteed that it's gonna happen every year. It has happened every year because the board voted for it every year, but the union doesn't say that, the union contract doesn't say it's guaranteed. The union contract says they're gonna vote on it and the board will approve or, well, has the option to approve it. So I'd almost like to have them give me the opportunity to tell me what they wanna compromise along with what I have said. I was expecting to get something back from them to say, because what I was told first was, if they don't wanna do the 10-hour days like we have in the past, can we find something else to compromise with? And I haven't gotten anything back from them. I just came up with something. So I haven't talked to them about, and I guess really, in a way, if you want to be short and curt about it, I don't have to ask them. We don't have to ask them anything. This is how it is, but I want to be able to work with them. So.
Yeah, it's best to work with people.
I move we table this until further direction from the county engineer.
I'll second that.
Roll call, Todd,
Aye.
Steve, Jim,
Aye.
Mike,
Alright,
Mark.
so for a week, is that?
Yep.
Yeah, we'll see if I
Until,
can,
until he comes up with a plan.
I'll talk with the stewards and maybe we can figure something else. That might be beneficial for everybody.
Okay.
All right, Title VI. I turned everything in for Title VI that I think we could fill out. When they said audit, I freaked out. It's more of a, they're coming in to kind of educate us on how Title VI works. The more I read the documentation, the more insane it gets for one person to take care of this. But for now, this is where we're at. We need to update, because we receive federal aid funds, and since we have a bridge that's gonna be using federal aid, we gotta make sure we have our Title VI assurances up to date with the DOT, so we have to have an agreement, and then that updated because we have a new chair that signs for it. So the chair, the board is actually responsible for it, but they also appoint someone to be in charge of making sure that the Title VI is being followed by the county, which is insane to me that the county engineer does it. But anyway, that's where we're at right now. So what we really need to do right now is to get the documents updated so I can send them to the DOT so that they have it when they come in for their review. And I guess I don't know how else better to explain Title VI other than it's civil rights, equal opportunity. That whatever we do as a county, because we receive federal funds, whatever we do, we have disclaimers saying that we're following EEO civil rights laws, plain and simple. Now, I'm probably gonna learn a lot more, and I think maybe, and I know Rachel's not gonna like this, but I think she might wanna be present when they come to do the review, because we're gonna learn a lot more than what we've probably been following. I mean, I admit, we don't do much as far as, we don't get complaints, I don't know if we're doing everything properly, because I'm not a civil rights expert or an HR expert, but we're gonna learn a lot, and then we're gonna have to determine how we're gonna handle this. And very few counties have gone, some counties have gone through this already, and a lot of times it ends up in the HR or the auditor's office, but we need to get through this review process with them so we know what it all entails, because when you read through the documents, there's a lot more going on than just having a policy and making sure it's up to date. I don't think we have anything on our website that says if you feel like there's some sort of discrimination, here's who to contact, and then you got paperwork to fill out if you do get a complaint. There's a lot going on here that just, I think, and I don't know if Mark walks on the phone yet or not, but I think we do everything we're supposed to as far as equal opportunity and civil rights, but it's just another formal process, I guess, that we need to maintain. So the first thing is the Title VI non-discrimination agreement with our Department of Transportation. They want to make sure that because we receive federal funds, we're not violating anything according to what the code says. And then there's the non-discrimination policy statement that says that I'm responsible for initiating, monitoring, and reporting Title VI activities, preparing reports, which we haven't done in the past, but we haven't had anything to report either. And then the assurances are just the guideline, I guess, for what we need to be doing with appendices, ADA, all kinds of, it's Greek to me too, guys, I'm sorry, but. We can get it signed, get it approved, and then I'll learn something. They never really did much training on it. I just got 2 documents to sign.
Rachel, would this be something that Renee von Rocken would have?
I don't think so.
Uh,
No, this is county,
Yeah.
this is county, this is a county. I don't know if I want to say it.
Okay, so.
Until I know it's
so well, because I can't even tell you what it really is. It really is.
So this is federal, right?
It's, because we receive federal funds, whether it's emergency flood response, federal aid bridge, stuff like that, because we receive funds, the federal government wants to make sure we're not violating any civil rights. You know, there's a whole lot of things in there talking about, do we have things posted in different languages because of the population, that breakdown of our county? Do we have stuff in Spanish? Do we have, when we send out documents for purchase of property in the deeds, do we have, there is a mess of things that I don't know about that I'm gonna learn here.
You want me to sign this?
Yeah, if you would too.
Too.
So, it's
Can I
great.
amend the budget to pay for it.
We get another department.
Is it something the county attorney should look over, or not? It's pretty much standard procedure.
I think maybe it is something that maybe we want.
It's, some county attorney, every county has something different. A lot, when this first kind of came out and got to be a big deal, all the counties shoved it on their engineers because, well, you guys get, because back then we weren't SWAP funded, we had federal aid bridge, and we had that, so you guys are the ones that get all the federal aid money, so you guys should be in charge of this. Well, it's an HR, it's a county-wide thing. Now, that one is for the DOT, they want to make sure, because we receive federal funds from the DOT, that we're not violating, but not all federal funds come from the Department of Transportation to the county.
Okay, Rich, I signed the 2 signatures.
I don't know what, so, we'll just get that figured out and get it sent in, and like I said, we'll know more when they decide to come in here and tell us what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong. Sorry to be vague, but that's all I know about it. I have a file folder with signed documents.
I really think maybe you want to have county attorney read them, just for the sake of doing it.
These are all boilerplate documents that, it's a good thing that we have assurances, because if we had a population over 250,000, we'd have to make policy.
Yeah.
Well, it was a long-winded day, I don't know.
It's fine.
I actually forgot, did you, we talked by email in regards to the Fed money and stuff, did you submit anything or do anything?
I haven't submitted anything.
Okay, is there a possibility, does it look like?
Well, the only thing that, the trouble I have with that is, where are we gonna find letters of support? You know, there's, what I think they're trying to do is, I think they're trying to find these projects where, and I'm not saying we shouldn't try something, I'm just saying, I think what they're doing is, they might have a prospect, they might have a city or county that's gonna do a major industrial park or something, because they got this big project coming in, and they had to have letters of support to bring this big company in, and to do that, they needed to redo their infrastructure, and so they have letters of support saying, we want this company in here, and here's what we're gonna do, we're gonna pony up some money to better the roads to that site, or we're gonna pony up money to pave the roads, you know, I think that might be what they're looking for, because when you think about, they only get 10 projects to submit to the federal government, and there were 10 categories in that list. I don't think that they're always looking for, we wanna pave this road. Unless there's something at the end of that road that said, hey, look, we've got this big, I don't know, this big Walmart warehouse coming in, and we need a better road to that system. If you can say that the county has obligated themselves to find a way to fund the road to get there because this is an economic development thing, then I think that might be what they're looking for. I don't know, I mean, we don't have a lot of time to.
It does say resolutions, I guess that's what cued me in on it, that means it's already been publicly approved, and so I wasn't sure if Foothill might possibly.
Right, and because they're already under contract with different funding, I'm almost positive they wouldn't qualify, because we're under contract, the money's already obligated, they wouldn't look at that.
And I didn't expect you to spend a lot of time on it, because if I remember right, I saw somewhere where it's a 700-page document that has 20 or 30 questions that autofill the rest of it. I think it's a typical federal deal, and the other side of it is, if we don't try, we never know either, but, in all,
5 million, Jim?
pardon me?
Was that on that 5 million?
No, this is an email that we all got in regards to,
They're not even telling us what the
Project
funding
funding
opportunity
thing.
is.
So, this money is probably they already know where it's gonna go, and this was just a blank thing, probably. But I didn't know if you had anything about the call there or not.
The only thing I tried doing was when, and who did I say it was last time? Last week we had Senator, I can't remember what his name was now, who basically asked the same thing out of the Diacog District 2 region, come up with projects so that we can earmark them for the transportation bill. So every county engineer, every city, every conservation director, most started throwing projects at, saying, you know what? Well, they gave us 24 hours to try to pick 6. Well, that's ridiculous, because number one, we don't know how much money they're offering us. And number two, you have 24 hours, you gotta try to vote on that.
This is due Thursday,
Yeah,
you
well,
know.
so we're gonna get a letter of support and figure out, you know.
Yeah.
I really think that it would have been better, you know, I think what they're aiming for are the bigger, hey, look, we want this light rail system, and
I think you're right.
I think that's what they're headed
Like a
for.
$30 million project.
They're not looking at
I
Metro County, Iowa, and wanting to give us $1 million for it. I don't believe that that's the case. I could be wrong. I'm not a politician. I don't play one on TV, but I just don't.
Well, Adam's gonna submit something, and I sent this to him also,
But
I'll talk about that later.
But I think there's each category. I think when they say 10, I think I think after reading through it, I think they want one project for each category, whether it's light rail, economic development, or I don't remember what all of them were in there, but they had 10 categories, and that's like, okay, that makes sense. They can only put 10 in, so they're probably going to pick one out of each one: airports, roadways, residential, or whatever they have there. So.
Well,
I'd like to submit something, Jim. I just don't know
Okay.
whether, one, we've got the time to do it, and whether we can completely fill out the document and make it worth a pinch of salt. It's different.
Okay.
I'm not trying to be negative about it, but.
Would that Kirkwood project be one just to throw in there just in case?
Well, we could. I guess I just don't know that we have all the required documentation. I did throw Kirkwood in to the one from Nyakog, because, well, I mean, we're obligated to it, and then they came back and said, well, is it in the TIP or the STIP? Well, no, there was only one project submitted that even partial funding was in the TIP or the STIP already, but it doesn't take us long to take it from one, transportation, it's the State Transportation Infrastructure, I can't remember what the acronym is, TIP and STIP. It's what we program for our SWAP money and our bridge money. And right now, it's not programmed in there because we're using farm to market and local money to do the project. Now, it wouldn't take long if we knew we were gonna get something to say, oh yeah, we'll put it in the STIP. Problem is, when we put it in the STIP for SWAP funding, all our money's already obligated in that fund. We try to run a zero balance on that fund. So I don't understand how I think they're all in a knee-jerk reaction, trying to show the federal government that there's a need out there. So what we did is we threw I threw Kirkwood, and they're saying, here's Mitchell County's need right now. We wanna get this done. We don't have the money to do it. It's gonna cost $6 million. So then the government can say, look, there's more need out there. We need to fix this transportation bill. Or they want stuff like that, and it's, I think what they give everybody hope, and then, you know, we do what we can, and so we can try it, I guess. But what the requirements they want is letters of support and resolutions and all this other stuff. I don't think we have it to submit before Thursday.
You need letters of support for the Kirkwood one. The resolution, to me, the resolution is the only one that we actually have a resolution for Foothills, so that's why.
Right. And that's already under contract obligated, so they aren't gonna pull that from me.
Okay. All right.
So,
Thank you.
would you want me to do anything with it, or I don't, between now and Thursday, I don't know that I really.
Sounds like it's a waste of your time.
Well, I've got a lot of other things I need to get done, but I'll leave it up to you guys whether we try to, unless you guys have other projects, it doesn't necessarily mean we have to have transportation to you guys. And I was even trying to think of whether the new county garage, the new shop you guys were thinking of, but I still don't think that that's a high priority project for the federal government.
Do you have a link to the form?
Yeah. I think that's with that letter.
Do you wanna just see?
I'll
If
see
it's
it.
only 20 or 30 questions, see if,
I'll see what I can come up with.
but don't burn up all kinds of time
Okay.
on it either.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you do it half an hour,
I'll read through it.
okay.
dissertation.
It's probably not too bad, it's from the federal government, it's probably just fine.
Do that when I want to go to bed.
All right, anything else for Rich? Don't
Thank you.
forget, don't forget my little.
Yep, I've got to do that, yep.
Moving on, number 6, county home discussion and possible action. Jim?
Okay. So, we had just a little brief history for starters. Last time the county home was going to be tore down, tried to do it under a DNR grant. So there was a asbestos study done, I have the document, that identifies all the asbestos in the building. There were 4 bids, actually 5 bids, 4 bids that were, that I had in my thing here. I contacted the lowest bid person from those bids to see what they would do for a price this time. And they came and looked at the building. I was with them when they did that. They resubmitted a price for $39,495. That's $1,881 more than what they did, their last bid was. It's also still cheaper than the second to the lowest bid that we had before. It's $1,800 lower than the second to the last bid. So they're still the lowest bid, and they're willing to do that. Some of the requirements they have is they do it, they have to, we have to provide water and electricity, porta potty, and they could possibly do it end of April or first part of May. I contacted the DNR. DNR has no problem. These people are a licensed asbestos remover, which they are. And I talked with the Osage Fire Department in order to burn off the top of the building before it gets tore down. DNR has no problem doing that either. They'll burn it off. So the fire department would use it as a training burn. So talk to the fire department, use it as a training burn. Their fees are $250 for the first hour, and then $50 each hour after that. The time starts from when they leave the barn until when they get back to the barn. This is just a guess on my part, but I would think that we $500–600 to the fire department. That's just a guess, but I don't. Whatever it is what it would be. Contacted local contractors as far as to punch a hole, they'll tear it down, punch a hole in the floor so we don't have any water sitting in there after it's all tore down. So the water would drain, pull the building down into the basement. If they need to dig in any more, then they would dig an additional hole to put the rubble in. Requirement is that all the rubble's at least 3 feet under the ground. Also remove the LP tank stands that are in the back there in the pad. That would go in the hole also. Then if there's not enough dirt, which there probably isn't to cover it, the level surface, road department said that they would haul some dirt in, put the dozer out there. Either their guy would level it, or I said that I would even level it on Saturday or something. So we would have to have a contractor doing any of that. So I guess my recommendation is that we would, this company is called REW Services for the asbestos. I would recommend that we utilize them to get rid of the asbestos, and we also utilize the Osage Fire Department to burn the roof off. That's the first steps that I would recommend we do. Any questions?
Talk to local contractors to get the home buried, or else like a bid thing?
I just have 2 phone calls out. They were ones that did it the last time. A couple of larger contractors, because they're larger excavators. It's going to need to be a larger excavator to do it. So,
You don't have those bids yet?
no, the calls are out, but I haven't received them.
That's fine.
But that's down the, yeah, we're looking, the fire department thought they might, it might be June before they could actually burn it. So we're looking at an excavator outside June, end of June. So,
Our big concern concern is to get rid of that asbestos.
Yes.
That's the main thing, because it's only gonna get more expensive if we wait. So,
It's not gonna go away, so.
it is not going away.
I went around and, talked with a bunch of the neighbors and, I mean, every one of them, there's not a lot, there's a few right there, but I even went around the section each way and they, just get rid of it. Good God, it's been standing there and, you know, there's a possibility of a injury if some kids went in there, you know how we all were, and so I think if Jim's doing the legwork, and I'll make a motion that he continues and we keep moving forward, get rid of it. I don't
Make the motion to approve the 39,800 and the X amount for the fire department.
I'll second that.
Todd's made a motion, Mark has seconded.
Roll call. Mark,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Todd,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Jim.
Aye.
So, that motion has passed, so we are moving forward on the county home. Is there any other discussion on that anymore?
No, that's all I had on
Okay.
that. I'll let you know as things keep going, so.
All right, we'll move down the line. Items of note, meetings attended. Who would like to start on that?
I can start. So the federal government sent all of us an email from our Congresswoman Ashley Hinson. And it has to do with this project, this money that they want to give us, and it's, all applications need to be in by Thursday, which was amazingly, anyway, kind of odd, anyway. So, I contacted Rich and I contacted Adam in regards to any projects that they might have that we might be able to utilize to do that. I'm just talking to Rich a little bit ago here about that. Conservation, Adam, I think he has submitted it, that he's gonna try to do something with the Otrano Dam, Otrano Park, rafting thing in the river. I think he's gonna try to move forward and do that. I know he sent an email out, whether it was just a question to one of her people that are under her, I'm not sure, but he's looking into that. So Mitchell County is doing something to try to get the money. The document that, like I said, is over 700 pages long, and this one reply came back from this Congresswoman's helper. And some of it autofills. It said there's only 20 or 30 questions actually. But, so that is that. Then last week I went to Orchard City Council meeting, introduced myself, just to let them know that they're in my district and stuff. So we talked about different stuff, and some of the key things that came up is the federal money that we're all going to get. I let them know how much they're going to get. We talked about derelict buildings. Their sewage lagoon eventually is going to have a new mat put underneath the roof, but that's down the road a ways. And we talked about broadband. So the two key items are, one would be the derelict buildings. I think that's a need that Mitchell County needs to kind of look at. We've helped to build a lot of houses on the outskirts of towns, where the centers of our towns are actually starting to dry up with old houses. And cities like Orchard, Little Cedar, Mitchell, Otrano, Picketing, other little towns, they're fantastic little communities that people would like to live in. And Orchard even said that themselves. We have a lot of old buildings that are just sitting here, look terrible in our town, and we would appreciate it if there was some help as far as to tear them down. Create a bare lot where either a business or a house could actually be built. This is something as far as economic development that needs to kind of think about. Something I would support. I think that would be a good thing. Broadband is the other thing that they had a problem with. One lady said that she needs to put her router up in the window in order to get a signal. I went to OMU to talk about OMU as far as what their plans are. They already have in the works doing Mitchell this summer, and there's a vault that's placed up there. They're gonna pull fiber out of that vault and do the city of Mitchell. They're actually crossing the river and gonna head down to Highway 9 and then go over to Rahoots. So they've got that going on. That's gonna be this summer. As far as Orchard's in their plan. They have a grant that they've secured for Orchard, but it's not quite enough to do Orchard. How they do Orchard is, there's a fiber line that's right by Pop Excavating, so they hook into it there, head down Orchard Road into the town, and then feed the town. Possibly they would do broadband for Orchard next summer. Maybe not next summer, maybe the following summer, but it's in their radar to do that. The community would like that very much. That's all I had. Any questions on anything?
Moving on.
I had,
I had the North Iowa Long-Term Disaster Recovery Committee meeting yesterday. Started at 1 o'clock. It actually only went about 45 minutes. Call to order, approved the agenda. We reviewed the officers. And our secretary is Melissa Michaelis. She's the Worth County Director, Economic Director gal. That how do you say her
I
name?
have no idea how you say her last name.
Okay. The treasurer, I did not catch that person's name, but it is the same treasurer that we've had in the past. Linda Jaden is the chair, and I'm the vice chair. These people were approved. We did an update on our bylaws, and this is an update on the bylaws. And the new office for the Long-Term Disaster Recovery Committee is in Mason City, and it's on 2716 South Federal Avenue, somewhere near the old National Guard Armory. It'll be in the south end of town. Moved on, we are a 501c-3 for official. We've got the correct little paper that says we are. It's on file, and it is in effect. As long as we keep having our meetings, it will stay in effect. We've got a bank account with First Citizens Bank. They're going to need to get signature cards, and they're going to need some signatures from the chair and the vice chair, and there's be more discussion on that in the next meeting. There was no old business. New business was discussed that we need new members, must recruit heavily for this organization to work. How do I want to say it? The Long-Term Disaster Recovery Committee, the North Iowa Committee, it's not political, no. It's 4 counties: Mitchell, Floyd, Cerro Gordo, and Worth. We have a supervisor from each county that's on it, but it's still not a political organization. It is a non-profit to have the 501c3, and we have to get out to get donations, and then it's tough to do with all the businesses, in the community, and churches, but we're going to go around and ask for donations. So, if you have any ideas for new members to this, the more members we have, the better off we'll be. And this 4-county committee will, in the event of a disaster, all 4 counties will help if it just happens in Floyd, or if it just happens in Mitchell County. But all 4 counties, this will be one committee, and they will help in the event of floods or tornado, And also, it will work best is if it is done during a non-presidential declared emergency. Once that's a presidential declared emergency, then the feds are in, so it isn't as effective. What this is an investment in our community. Next on the list, we discussed the date and location for the next meeting, and it will be June 9th at 1 p.m. in Cerro Gordo. So, that was my meeting.
Nothing for me.
I had a couple, yesterday afternoon, 3 of us for the economic development met on, working on trying to get a application sent out, on the EDC director position. We're moving, we need to move quite rapidly on that. As you can see, our intern may be out for a few days that are coming up, so. But, I think we got things put together, and then, we're gonna post, some things online in the paper. And then last night, I had a fair board meeting. A lot of discussion on a lot of little things. They really want to make it the 150th. They want to have full grounds, just basically tidying things up and getting the T's crossed and the I's dotted. One thing, they are still going after the benches that I talked about. If anybody would like to donate to these benches, they're like $650, and that would put whatever you wanted on the back of it. And that's the top one. Then it goes down $590 if you don't, and then $550. They're getting a lot of people saying that they need more seating around the fairgrounds, and then start working on advertisement, and that's pretty much it. Moving forward in all their ideas, so. That's it for me.
Thank you, Todd. Moving on, clerk of court report for March. Stacy Olson, the clerk of district court for Mitchell County, is certifying the fees collected at the month ending March 31st of 2021, and the total is $3,198.05. So noted. Moving on, manure management plan updates. Rachel.
We received the Iowa Egg Company, Mountain Matrix is done. Jake's Dairy Inc., 11,331 620th Avenue, Adams, Minnesota. And then Carpenter North Finisher Farm, 5470 Birch Avenue, Minnesota.
Okay. Thank you. Moving on, public comments. Charles.
I'll just mention that the county did receive the A+ rating from S&P.
Thank you, Rachel. Anything else that we want to discuss today?
That's eyes.
I think there's an A++. For the last few times we've gotten an A+.
Just about. Next. Okay.
All
I
righty.
think that's pretty good. I know that on my report card.
I never got one either. Anyways, with nothing else left to discuss,